So apparently I've been accumulating a lot of makeup products and I thought it was about time that I actually sat down and filmed with them. It's definitely not a full face of products, but there are definitely a lot of products to try in this video. It's been a while since I've done a video like this because usually it's just an eyeshadow palette, but we do have an eyeshadow palette and lots of base products to try today, as well as lip products. I've got lip oils from the Beauty Crop, I've got Makeup Revolution cream products, I've got lip tints from Beauty Bay, I've got the Makeup Revolution, what palette is this called? The Astra Nova palette. I don't usually buy a lot of Makeup Revolution palettes anymore, especially in the tin packaging, but this colour story, do I need to say more? I've got a new eye base to try. I actually got Sigma PR, which blows my mind. I've got 3 blushes from the Beauty Crop because apparently one wasn't enough. A new foundation, a new concealer, and a new base primer. So, I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff. Now, I did buy all of these things myself with the exception of the eye primer. So I'm gonna zoom you in. I'm gonna put on my little Shrek headband so that my hair is out of the way. And I thought, you know, it matched with my new top quite nicely. This was from TikTok Shop, by the way. Yeah, I like green and purple. We're not gonna talk about why my headband is lopsided. It's always been that way. Poor Shrek. I mean, it would make more sense if that one was a little bit more upright. It doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't want to play ball. I think this was a collab with Shrek and Makeup Revolution from a while ago. So I'm going to start out with the new Beauty Bay primer. I don't typically buy a lot of skincare from Beauty Bay just because I don't really rate it, but with this being a Pore Perfect blurring primer, smooths and perfects the complexion for a soft focus matte finish, I thought why not? Now I do have dry skin, however I do prefer a matte looking base, just in general, because then whatever base I've got on doesn't tend to settle into my lines. I just find the more dewy I am, the more liney and settly it is. So this primer is £12 and it says it's vegan, cruelty-free, formulated without fragrance and without silicones. So I'm excited to try this. It says results that deliver, 84% agreed the primer instantly reduced the appearance of pores. Wow, I'd be interested to know. 13 people. Tested on 13 people. I don't really think that's a fair test when it's just 13 people, but there we go. So hopefully you can see from the close-ups that I did that we do have a little spatula thing in here, and it does have another little lid that we remove. Now it looks like I wasn't expecting this consistency and I wasn't expecting it to look so gel-like, but I'm hoping that that's a good thing. This is the world's smallest spatula. I don't even know how much to use. I don't want to use too much. So I'm just going to start blobbing it. Oh, that's cooling. Oh, that feels cooling. Okay. It does definitely feel smooth. I'm assuming it's going to turn quite matte. I'm just going to press it into where I have quite visible pores because, you know, nobody's skin's perfect. We all have visible pores and that's okay. But we don't want them accentuated with foundation settling into them. So hopefully this primer will do the job. Okay, I'm definitely looking a little bit more dewy. I'm gonna see if it goes a little bit more matte because at the moment it is still a little bit tacky and I don't mind that. I quite like a tacky primer just so then it adheres to the foundation quite well. But I mean, I would say that's a little bit blurring and smoothing, definitely. Interesting to see how I'll get on with this, bearing in mind that I do have dry skin, but so far so good. I will obviously test this quite a few more times, especially with my favourite foundations, just so I get a really true test of how I feel it wears. I don't think I'm going to know for sure just after using it for today, but first impressions, it's gone on nicely. It was definitely cooling on the skin and it is a little bit blurring and nice. So next we're going to try this cushion foundation. Now this has been super hyped, so I was excited to try it. It's from a Korean brand and it's a Mask Fit Red Cushion Foundation and on Beauty Bay it is £20.50. It says that it's a semi-matte foundation, smooth on, the perfect canvas for makeup with the Tir Tir Mask Fit Red Cushion Foundation, featuring a neutral undertone that adapts exactly to your skin. This no touch-up needed foundation cushions a complexion with high coverage, long-lasting comfort and all-day wear. Okay, so semi-matte. Like I said, I do quite like a matte foundation, and this is semi-matte, and I'm probably still gonna set it. So I'm excited to give this one a go. I did get this in the shade, what shade is this? 21N Ivory, and I think I got this shade because the shade that I actually wanted was sold out, and I am really bad at picking foundation shades for myself. So we're gonna see how this one goes. I do really like the packaging of this. It feels quite bougie. It looks really nice. We do get one of these inside as well, which is cute. And then you have to lift up. Hold on, how did I do this before? I struggled with this before. How am I lifting this? Oh yeah, it opens like a door. Is this gonna be a good shade for me? Oh, send help, guys, send help. So I'm gonna use the little sponge that comes with it and see how that goes. Right, so I'm just gonna press and dip it. I've only ever tried one cushion foundation before, and it was from CATKIN Cosmetics, and I absolutely loved that. This definitely does look deeper than that. Okay, we're just gonna go for it and hope for the best. Oh, that picked up a lot. Let's just spread that out a little. Okay, colour-wise, it's a little yellow. Channeling Marge Simpson. Considering this is the second cushion foundation I've tried and it's applying like this, maybe cushion foundations are what I like, because so far going on, it definitely still looks like skin, but the coverage is lovely. I do quite like a full coverage to medium coverage foundation. I'm not a fan of this. This is not thick enough for my liking. Yeah, I'd probably use my own that is a lot thicker than this. I definitely don't think the shade match is perfect. I don't think my neck is quite as yellow as my face is looking, so I will just take it down my neck a little bit just so I don't look completely strange. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this little cushion. I just don't think it's thick enough for my personal preference, but that's fine. Of course, you don't have to use it. Now taking it down my neck, it's not looking too bad. The coverage is definitely there, which I am a fan of. I do like some coverage. It's still looking very skin-like. I just think the undertone is quite yellow on this for me. Considering it said it was neutral, I wouldn't say it's neutral, I'd say it's leaning very yellow. But it's looking really nice, and of course this is another thing that I'm going to have to test numerous times because it's sitting on top of that new Beauty Bay primer that I tried, and it might absolutely love that primer and hate others, so I need to check with the primers that I've usually got to see how it sits on top, but it is sitting on top of the Beauty Bay one really nicely. It's not, first off the bat, settling into any lines or accentuating any texture or dryness that I've got, which some foundations can do. And of course this is demi-matte, so maybe that's why it's all good so far. So while I leave that to set down to see if it does get any more matte, I will go in with the concealer that I've got to try, which is from Makeup Revolution. I've probably got this in the wrong shade as well. This is probably going to be far too deep, but I got it in light peach. It is the Skin Silk Radiant Serum Under Eye Brightener. And yeah, I got it in light peach. I probably should not have got it in that shade. It is £8.95 on Beauty Bay. It says this formula uses a blend of hyaluronic acid, caffeine and squalane to boost radiance, hydrate and smooth the under eyes for up to 24 hours. Offering sheer to buildable coverage, this under eye serum instantly revives and brightens the skin with weightless wear that doesn't clog the pores. I mean, those are some claims. We shall see. I quite like a thin consistency when it comes to concealer. The thicker it is, the worse it is for my aging under eyes. So I've got high hopes for this, and the wand is actually metal, which I'm like, okay, that will be cooling and nice on the under eye. So I don't want to put too much on. This is actually quite yellowy too. So, I mean, at least we're sticking with the theme. And I'm gonna blend it out with my brush. And we'll see what it is giving. That is a lovely thin consistency, like what I like for my under eyes, let me tell you now. I mean, it can get cakey under there real quick, and I don't feel like this formula is going to make it cakey. So if you like a really thick, dry concealer that's really high coverage, I don't think this one's for you. But if you have slightly more aging under eyes and you don't want something as thick, you want something a little bit lighter, thinner, that doesn't settle into lines. I mean, yeah, it's definitely quite light coverage. It's not giving tons of coverage. But I'm not opposed to that. I quite like that. I am going to set my under eye though, because if I don't, it will It will settle, there will be issues. And I always do set my under eye with my Arttitude Cosmetics powder. This is in Linen. It is a loose powder and I absolutely love it. I only use a tiny little bit of it though. I don't go in too heavy. Where's my brush? And I always use my Cosmic Brushes CB12 brush, which I think technically is a highlighter brush, but I quite like it for the under eye. And I'll just dip in, tap off, and then lightly just swipe on the under eye, just so it's a little bit set, you know? I've just poked myself in the eye. I wouldn't recommend that. So now this foundation's been sitting on for a little while, it is still a little bit tacky, and I cannot stand to have a tacky base. This is why I like it matte, just because hair gets stuck to it. It, like I said before, settles into line, so I will be setting this 100% because yeah, it's still a little bit tacky. If I turn my lights off for a second, hopefully you'll be able to see how it's sitting on my skin. And I do have quite a lot of fine lines and pores, but I do think, what is that? Get off. I do think it looks really nice on the skin. In person, I think it looks nice. On camera, I don't know quite how it's translating. So next we're going to try the cream products from Makeup Revolution. I'm excited to try these. I think the packaging looks really nice. I've got a blush and a bronzer. The bronzer is in the shade Sunkissed. I didn't know which bronzer to go for just because I don't like a bronzer that's too warm, and trying to look at the shades that were available, like the lightest one didn't really seem my cup of tea, so I went for Sunkissed. This is £6.95 and it is a cream to powder bronzing stick, and it says swipe on sculpting definition with the Makeup Revolution Skin Silk Bronzer Stick, weightless with a creamy buttery consistency. This cream to powder bronzing stick smoothly glides on and melts into the skin to deliver sun-kissed definition. And it does have skin-loving ingredients. And it has ceramides with meadow foam seed oil. Never heard of that. So yeah, I think the packaging is really, really nice. And I'm a bit dubious as to whether you're actually going to be able to swipe this on as opposed to apply it with a brush, because is it going to be tuggy? I'm going to get a brush ready just in case. And we're going to give it a go with what it says. Oh, actually, no, that's definitely not tugging. Okay. Okay. Am I about to apply too much? Possibly. Okay. Let's try and blend this in. Okay. Okay, when I keep saying the word okay, you know that I like something. That is blending effortlessly. I was really hoping that I was going to love this product because my favourite cream bronzer in the entire world is by Makeup Revolution. And I actually kind of don't want to show you this because it's a little bit battered, but this is mine. The lid has come off. I've had it for such a long time, and it's the Ultra Cream Bronzer in Light, and it is just my absolute favourite. It is so blendable and effortless. It's an amazing product. Hate the packaging. It is cheap, nasty packaging that obviously is broken over time, but this is going to be so much easier if it's in a stick version and it's still kind of like that amazing formula that is in the other one. This is blending out just as effortlessly, and I've left this bit on my forehead for quite a while and it's still blending. Like, you don't have to work too quickly with this. I am a fan of the bronzer. Yeah, I was concerned that it was going to be a little bit tuggy, but it definitely isn't. Have I put too much on? Yes, but it's okay because I'm going to carve that bit out with powder in a little while. Have I gone a little bit bronzer heavy? Yes. Yes, I have. Okay, formula of that one. Loving it. Loving it, and it hasn't disrupted anything underneath. Okay, I have high hopes for the blush now. I did get the blush in Sun-Kissed Apricot, and they are a marble effect blush. Like, if I open this and show you, it looks like this. Obviously it's not going to go on the cheek marble effect, but I think that's kind of cute. I did go for the more orangey shade because there were pinky shades, but if I get to choose a blush shade, it usually is an orange. So when I was swatching this one is very pigmented, so I think I need to be careful. I'll also get a brush ready for this. That is a good idea. Okay. Scary times, scary times. Blend it out. Ooh, this one isn't blending quite the same. This one is £6.95 on Beauty Bay, but that is quite sheer when blended out. I don't know, can I make this work? Is it just scary in the beginning? We're learning. We are learning. Maybe it's like little by little we'll add it, blend it out, and then it won't be too scary. I do quite like a lot of blush, so let's just work on building this up. Also, compared to my face, my under eye is looking extremely light and hasn't got much coverage under there. So I feel like the foundation compared to the concealer, two totally different coverages. So I don't know if I'd pair that combination of light coverage concealer with such a high coverage foundation together. Okay, I think I've definitely made it work to the point I'm happy with it. I think it looks a little bit more intense on camera than it does in person. Oh, and while I remember, I will put on one of the lip oils. I think I'll put on, because I did get 3 on the TikTok shop for £5, which I think is an absolute bargain, but I don't know how much, oh, it's been laid down, so the product is sorting itself out. I'm gonna put on the shade Bubblegum, just to hydrate my lips before we do the lip tint at the end. Oh. That is a nice consistency and a nice formula. It doesn't feel sticky, it just feels cushiony. But for me, when it comes to a lip oil, I prefer something a little bit more pigmented. Like, we have 3 different colours here, and they could have benefited from being a little bit more the shade that they are in the bottle. Like, I have a lot of lip oils, and when they all come out looking the same and it's sort of clear, it seems a bit pointless. So I would have liked a little bit more pigment in that, but the actual formula itself feels really nice. And I am going to powder my face with my P. Louise pressed powder. This is in Porcelain, and I really do like this. Now, I think this is actually supposed to be a brightening under eye powder. I never use it for brightening my under eye because it makes my under eye look very, very cakey and unhappy. But I do use it for setting all of my face. I just put it on a big brush, and then I do use it as well to sort of carve out my cheeks a little bit, and it's really, really good for that. Okay, that feels much better. My face isn't sticky anymore. And I'm going to use a little bit of the Beauty Crop Pore Filter Mattifying Mist. And then I've got the 3 blushes from the Beauty Crop. These were on offer on TikTok shop as well, so if you are over there, definitely check out the deals that the Beauty Crop keep having. So I've got Popping Peony, Enchanted, and Glistening. And I think the one that I bought first was Glistening, which is this one here, and I really, really liked it when I tried it. So I ended up buying 2 more shades. I thought, why not have a pink? And why not have a more sort of orangey shade as well, because I absolutely love shades like this. I think the shade that I'm going to use today is probably going to be the pink one. Let's go for the Popping Peony. They are a shimmery blush. Ooh, she pigmented. Ooh, ooh, ooh. But as you can see, it is a really beautiful, wet looking blush. That is a really nice shade actually. If you like a shimmery blush, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the formula that these blushes are, and they have some beautiful shades in these. I actually kind of like the packaging as well. Although it's quite bulky and it could be slimmed down, it actually is quite nice packaging, and it does have a mirror inside as well. So now it's time to move on to the eyeshadow, which is always my favourite part of doing my makeup look. I absolutely love it, especially when I know I'm going to be playing with a colourful palette. But first we're going to test the Sigma eyeshadow base. Now, I'm very picky when it comes to eyeshadow bases that I like, and this one is £25 on the Sigma website. They did very kindly send this to me in PR, and I do have an affiliated code if you want to pick up anything from the Sigma's website. Now, I've got this in the shade Persuade, which is a light pink beige matte. So we're going to see how this goes on. I like the idea that it's in a pen. I've had my eye on this eye base for such a long time and wanted to try it, but I never got round to it, so I'm super, super happy that I get to try it today. And I've heard this one is great as well if you've got super oily lids, because it is more of a matte formula. And we're gonna blend it in and hope that I like this formula. Okay, I haven't tested a Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palette for quite some time, and I haven't tested one that comes in the tin packaging for years. I'm not a fan of the tin packaging. I prefer cardboard packaging if I had to choose, but I do love the design and the colours that are chosen for this packaging and for this palette. This is the Astra Nova palette and it is £12 on Beauty Bay, so it is a very affordable eyeshadow palette. And inside, when I saw the colour story, like, I don't care what brand is releasing this type of colour story will always have my heart. If I was to do my own palette, it would have a very similar colour story to this, because I just love the different tones of greens. You've got murky greens, bright greens, pastel greens, and mint, and it's in combination with purples. And we do have some neutral shades up here as well, but I just love this colour story. Now, I haven't actually swatched this palette as you're seeing this part of the video, but you're going to be able to see the swatches now. So I'm thinking I definitely want to do a combination of green and purple because that is my favourite combination to do. And playing around with eyeshadow and doing your favourite colour combination, yeah, let's do it, let's do it. I think the colour that I want to start with is going to be Enigma, which is the deeper green at the top here. And I'm going to start applying, that hasn't creased on me. That eyeshadow primer that normally would have creased while I was deciding on what look I wanted to do, this one has not creased. What wizardry is this? Pack that shade onto the outer corner. Ooh. Well, hello pigment. Just blending on the edge of that deeper green just to start on a blend before I go in with my next shade. There's no way that I'm not going into ET. Look at the shade. Look at how bright and delicious that shade is. Okay, I've picked up ET and I'm just gonna press it onto the edge of the deeper green to work on a blend. Now this shade looks quite neon in the pan, and if you've got a shade that's quite neon, it's best to press it in and then very lightly just tickle on the edges to blend it out, otherwise you're not gonna get the same pigment. Like, I know it's covered up that deeper green underneath, but that's absolutely fine because I will be going in with the deeper green again, but I'm just pressing it in for now to make sure I'm getting as much of that neon pigment as I can. Ooh. Back in with a bit of Enigma just to make sure we haven't lost any of that depth in the outer corner, and the blend looks a little better. I am impressed with the pigment so far and the way that this is going on. Don't get me wrong, the mattes do feel a little bit drier than, for example, the indie brand mattes that I try on a regular basis. But having said that, the actual pigment payoff and the way that they're blending together, I mean, for a £12 palette, I like it. Then I think I want to go into the more minty shades towards the inner corner. So I'm going to go into Space Invader, and then for the very inner corner, I might go into Supernova. That could be a plan. That could be a plan. So Space Invader, I'm just going to start to press in toward the inner corner. And again, this is quite a light pastel-y shade with probably a lot of white pigment in it. So it also benefits from being stamped on to get the full pigment rather than blending. I love cool and warm greens together in an eye look. I just think it looks so good. Is it the most pigmented pastel I've ever used? No, but I mean, it's there. It's showing up. We can see it. Okay, everybody cross your fingers for Supernova in my inner corner looking beautiful, okay? And it's going to stand out and be fabulous. Be pigmented. Think pigmentation. It's not quite what I was looking for. You can see it. Is it as bright and impactful as I was hoping it would be? No. But I'm trying to build it up in the hopes that I can make it that way. Okay, I mean, it's on there. It's not the most bright pigmented inner corner I've ever had, but we'll leave it like that for now. And I think I want to use the purples on the lower lash line. So the two matte purples that I'm thinking of using are Cosmic and Starstruck, but now looking at it, I might go into a little bit of Mothership as well, just to keep really tight to the lash line so there's a little bit of depth there. It looks like it's a matte with a tiny, tiny bit of sparkle. If you look really, really close, it does have a little bit of sparkle to that. So I'll start off with the Cosmic shade and try and pack this shade on. But I don't want to take it right to the inner corner because that's where I want the lightest of the pinks to go. So going into Mothership, which was the deeper shade, and I'm just going to stamp that quite close to the lash line just so I've got a little bit of depth that matches the depth in that deeper green, because if I left it like this, I mean, it looks nice. I just feel like it would connect better with the deeper green if we had a similar depth with the shade. Do you see what I mean? Okay, then we want the lightest pink matte, which is called Starstruck, and I'm going to put that toward the inner corner of the lower lash line. So this is how we're looking now, and it is definitely pigmented and vibrant, which is what I like. I do wish those mints were a little bit more impactful than they are, but I mean, you can still see them. So for the shimmers, I think what I want to do, the pink shimmer looks a little bit like a satin. So does this green, so does this green. There's actually quite a few satin looking shimmer shades in this palette. I'd say there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Astral definitely looks more sparkly, so I'm thinking that's what I'm going to put on the lid for shimmer. I might use a little bit of Milky Way, which is the pink satin, on the lower lash line. I'm trying to pick up Astral on one of my brushes. Now this is a really good brush for picking up shimmer. It's one of the Singe Beauty brushes. So we're going to see if this picks up. I mean, not a lot is coming off on the brush, but we're going to see. That's not really giving anything. I think I'm going to have to go in with my finger. Oh yeah, that's much better, picking it up on my finger. That is a really pretty sparkly shade. I do feel like it is more of a toppery type of shade, so maybe it would have benefited from being on top of a matte, but that is how we're looking, and it is bright at least. I might go into a little bit of the shade Interstellar, which is another one of the satin looking green shades. That definitely picks up better on a brush, so that's good. I'm just going to sandwich that between the shimmer and the matte just to make sure they merge nicely together. So I picked up that Milky Way shade and I have sprayed it, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that just near the inner corner of the lower lash line. I do feel like this look has lost a little bit of that mint, so I might just go back in with a little bit of that mint. I do feel like those pastels are lacking in pigment. They don't really want to show up and be as vibrant as I was hoping. So I think that's going to be it for the eyeshadow. So I'm going to jump off, do the finishing touches, and then we'll come back and try one of the Beauty Bay lip tints. So I did switch out the lip. I did use the Beauty Bay lip tint in the shade Slippers. This is a nice nude shade and it feels very comfortable. It feels like a nice, kind of a little bit watery formula when it's first going on. It's not sticky, but it does feel tacky. Then obviously when you have a drink and you're wearing it throughout the day, it will wear off and leave a bit of a tint. I do feel like though, the other shade that I had, which was Calypso, which is more of an orangey shade, I do feel like this one leaves more of a tint behind and a stain than the shade Slippers, but I think this looks really nice. It's not the first time I've tried the shade Slippers. I haven't tried Calypso yet, but I just felt like Slippers would go a lot better with this look, but I'm not mad at the formula. For my favourite kind of glossy lip tint though, I definitely think the NYX ones are really, really good. I'm not opposed to the Beauty Bay ones. I think they're really nice, but yeah, I don't think they leave as much of a tint as the NYX ones do. Maybe different shades leave different strengths of tint. Does that even make sense? I did go in my waterline with a NYX pencil. This is from the Barbie collab they did. It's the Jumbo Eye Pencil. Is this just the shade Barbie? I have no idea. It's a pink one. Considering as well, I've got quite a lot of new products on my face, I feel like this look is doing something. It's definitely working and I'm really happy with it, especially the eyeshadow. I'm loving the pinky purple with the green because, like I said before, it's one of my favourite combinations and I feel like I match my top pretty well. So let's discuss each of the things that I tried today. Now bear in mind, these are first impressions. I will test all of these things much more times and in different combinations with different formulas and different looks to give you my final thoughts in a video in a speed review that should be upcoming on my channel. So I didn't know what I was going to make of this Beauty Bay primer, but actually putting it on, it felt very cooling and it did look quite smoothing and pore blurring, which I don't find a lot of the primers that say they're going to do that actually do it, but I don't think it's like shocking. I'm not like gasping, but I think it is a really nice product so far from first impressions. I definitely didn't have any issues with my skin after putting this on. It didn't break up or act weirdly with the foundation. So I'm excited to try this one a little bit more. I've got high hopes now after testing it today and I kind of like it, considering I've got dry skin as well. The Tir Tir foundation, I have no idea if I'm even saying that right. I think I really actually like cushion foundations. As I said before, this is the second one that I have tried and I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's because as well I like a really liquidy, light formula of a foundation and I feel like that's what this is once you've squeezed it and put it on the little sponge. I'm not a fan of this. This isn't big enough or thick enough, but if I used my own products to apply this, I think I would actually love this even more when I'm applying it. Now I had to have a break in filming midway through because I needed to charge my battery and this foundation now has been on for quite a number of hours and just looking at it now, I mean, I think it looks great. It's settled into a few little lines on my forehead, but every single foundation does that because the lines exist. Like there's gonna be no stopping that. That's just skin. But it's not accentuating them really, really badly. My pores don't look accentuated at all. That could also be the primer. It's sitting on top of that primer beautifully. I think it looks high coverage, but natural looking skin still. Like I try a lot of high coverage foundations because that's my favourite. Sometimes they can look a bit cakey. I don't feel like this one looks cakey. And I would say it does feel lightweight on the skin, but again, I am used to wearing full coverage foundations. I think it's really nice. From first impression, I really like it so far. I don't think the shade match was the best choice. Like I say, I bought the one that was closest to my skin tone that was still in stock on Beauty Bay. If I absolutely love this foundation, after I've tested it a few more times, I will have a look at purchasing the correct shade for my skin tone. But yeah, I think it looks really, really nice. I will definitely keep on testing it for you and give you my thoughts once I've worn it a lot longer. The concealer, I didn't think I'd like this as much as I do. I think it looks really flattering on more of an aging under eye. It just looks like there's nothing there, but it's slightly improved what was there. Do you know what I mean? If you're looking for absolute full coverage, brightening, that type of thing, and you've got beautifully smooth under eyes, that I don't think you're going to be the biggest fan of this. But I think if you're wanting something a little bit light just to conceal maybe in the summer with a skin tint, I think this is going to be absolutely perfect, and I'm so glad that I picked this up now so that I can do that with this. Again, I don't think it's the right shade for me. I did get light peach. I'm not sure peach was the right way to go. However, I do think it looks really nice on the under eye. I don't think it matches that well with a more full coverage foundation. Like I say, if you pair it with a skin tint, I think the formula's really nice. I think this could be a good bet. The blush. Like I had tried one of the Beauty Crop blushes before in the shade Glistening, but trying Popping Peony today, I think it looks stunning. I am a big fan of a glowy blush, and this is definitely glowy, and if that is your thing, then I definitely think this formula is really nice. The colours are beautiful. I now have 3, I might as well collect them all. The lip oils, obviously I did only try one of them, and although it felt comfortable and nice on the lips, it's not the best formula lip oil I've ever tried, and it's not the worst. I'd say it's somewhere in between, and for me as well, I'm judging on the actual colour that's on the lips, and unfortunately for me, there just wasn't enough pigment of colour to put on the lips. Like, you might as well just be buying a clear one. You don't need 3 in 3 different colours. I'm probably not going to keep the other 2 because I feel like they're probably going to be the same and more or less fully sheer. But I think the packaging's really nice and the formula is a nice formula. So I'm just a little bit sad that it wasn't a little bit more pigmented. The Makeup Revolution cream to powder products, especially the bronzer. I'm not as keen on the blush just because I felt like it was a little bit more difficult to blend out, and then when you had blended it out it was kind of a weird sheer consistency, but it still got to a point where I could make it work for me and it looked nice. So I'm not mad at it, I think it's okay, but for me, the bronzer, I wasn't expecting to love this bronzer as much as I do, but I just think they've absolutely smashed it. It definitely doesn't tug on the skin, which is what I was worried about with a stick. You know, there's nothing worse than disrupting your base underneath and then not being able to blend it out. And you don't have to rush with this product like you do with some others. So I am really impressed with this formula. I think it is really nice. It is definitely buildable, super duper blendable, and I do set it afterwards because it was still a little bit tacky afterwards, but I'm impressed with the colour as well, sun-kissed. I really like this. This is one of my favourite things that I've tried today. The eyeshadow primer. I was shocked that after all of my waffling on when I'd applied it and then looking at the palette, which, you know, when I spend a couple of minutes looking at a palette when I'm not actually filming to make sure that I know what I'm kind of thinking with a look, or at least what shade I want to start out with, after that usually I'm needing to tap out my eyeshadow primer before I actually go in with the first shade. There was no creasing, which is like crazy to me. So I would say this is definitely more of a matte formula for the eye. So if you have got really oily eyelids and you struggle with breaking up of shadows, I definitely recommend trying the Sigma eyeshadow primer. Like I say, mine is in the shade Persuade, and super glad that I've got this now. Thank you so much to Sigma for sending me this, and don't forget I do have an affiliated code if you want to pick one of these up from Sigma's website. But I didn't have any issues with that eyeshadow primer whatsoever. I'm excited to keep testing it, using it with different formulas and eyeshadows that I know really, really well. And speaking of eyeshadow, loving this look and colour combination. This Makeup Revolution palette, £12, I think is super affordable. I think it's really my aesthetic in a palette looking at this colour story, and I'm not disappointed that I've picked it up. I do think some shades are better than others, and obviously I need to test out more of the shades, but I feel like this deep green I was really impressed with. This Enigma, it was definitely, like, you can see it in the outer corner. It hasn't gone anywhere. It built up beautifully, it's pigmented, and it did blend out into that nice neon green. Again, quite impressed with that considering it's a neon and they're not the easiest. I was a little bit disappointed with the shade Space Invader. Space Invader was there, but not as intense and bright and pigmented as I wanted it to be, which is a shame because since Makeup Revolution have taken over BH Cosmetics, they can see BH Cosmetics formula and they have apparently been using them in some of their palettes, and BH did pastels beautifully. The Lost in Los Angeles palette has a shade like this in it, and I feel like if they'd have used the BH formula for that shade, it would have been absolutely popping. So I'm a little bit sad about that shade. I wish it could have been more pigmented. Again, with Supernova, I felt the same. Astral is a beautiful shade, the shade that I've got on my lid. It is really, really pretty and sparkly. Obviously you saw my struggle with the brush. I would definitely recommend using your finger or a sponge tip applicator for that shade, but the more satin shades are much easier to pick up on a brush, but again, they are less impactful. Overall, I think the mattes that I've tried are really, really nice, apart from the more pastel leaning shades, and the shimmers so far are okay. Like satin, there's a time and a place for a satin shimmer. I'm not opposed to it. I just feel like this palette has got too many of them in it. I think there's a nice variety of different shimmer formulas, different depths and different tones in this palette. So all in all, for a Makeup Revolution palette for £12, I'm definitely not disappointed. I absolutely love this look that I've got on. I just wish my inner corner was that little bit more pigmented. I feel like I've been talking for 10 years. Hopefully this video hasn't been too long and you've enjoyed it. Are you planning to pick up anything that I have tried today, or have you tried something and you love it or you don't love it? Please do let me know. If you are interested in my final thoughts on these products when I've tested them a bit more, don't forget to subscribe because I should be coming back to you with a speed review of all the things that I've tried and tested multiple ways. Thank you so much for checking out this video, guys, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye.